Was Lee Jun Ho really forced into an early marriage? And how did Yoona's heartfelt reaction shake fans across the globe? The tension, the emotions, and the shocking truth are all waiting to be uncovered. Join Red Carpet Revealed as we dive into this sensational story right now. Was Lee Jun Ho really forced into an early marriage? And how could Yoona's heartfelt reaction shake fans across the globe? The tension, the emotions, and the shocking truth have left an entire industry holding its breath. Behind the glamour of flashing lights and award-winning performances, there lies a reality far more dramatic than any script he has ever played on screen. As the spotlight burns brighter, shadows of family pressure, cultural expectations, and hidden emotions creep closer, threatening to consume everything in their path. This is not just another celebrity story, it is a saga of love, duty, rebellion, and the raw humanity of two of Korea's most admired stars. Red Carpet Revealed takes you behind the curtains of the entertainment world to uncover a storm that has stunned millions. Lee Jun Ho, the singer-turned-actor who rose to international fame through unforgettable performances, has always been portrayed as the epitome of control, elegance, and determination. His career seemed flawless, his reputation impeccable, his charm magnetic. To fans, he was the modern prince who turned every project into a success story. Yet, behind the camera flashes, a storm was brewing in his personal life, a storm powerful enough to test not only his career but also his very identity. For years, whispers circulated within industry circles about the expectations placed upon him by his family. Born into a respected household, the pressure to uphold traditions was immense. At first, these whispers were nothing more than background noise in a symphony of applause. But soon, they grew louder, until finally, they exploded into public view with shocking clarity. Lee Jun Ho was being forced into an early marriage. The very idea struck fans like a thunderbolt. But a man at the height of his independence and global fame suddenly thrust into such a private and personal battle? His image as a free spirit, carefully built over years of artistic dedication, clashed violently with the image of a dutiful son bound by family ties. For Jun Ho, it was not just a choice between love and duty, it was a collision of two worlds. The modern independence of a global star and the ancient traditions of family expectations. His silence in the face of swirling rumors only added to the intrigue. Every public appearance, every carefully measured smile, was dissected by fans and media alike. Was that sadness in his eyes? Was that hesitation in his voice? Each gesture became evidence. Each word became a clue in a mystery that captivated millions. At the heart of this growing storm stood another figure. One whose presence would prove to be both grounding and explosive, Yoona. Known for her elegance, her poise, and her ability to captivate audiences across Asia, she was no stranger to the glare of public attention. Her friendship with Jun Ho had long been a subject of fascination. They had shared stages, attended the same events, and sparked endless speculation about the true nature of their bond. But when the news of Jun Ho's forced early marriage broke, his reaction transformed the entire narrative from a private struggle into an international spectacle. Her response was not scripted, not rehearsed, certainly not filtered through the polished lens of management companies. It was raw. It was emotional. And it was unforgettable. Fans who witnessed her reaction described it as one of the most genuine displays of human emotion they had ever seen from a star of her caliber. In a world where every move is calculated, where every statement is weighed for its impact, Yoona's unguarded moment resonated deeply. She did not speak as an idol. She spoke as a person, hurt, empathetic, and unafraid to let the world see her vulnerability. To understand why this story captured the hearts of millions, one must dive deeper into the life of Lee Jun Ho before the scandal erupted. He was not just a celebrity. He was a cultural icon, a symbol of what it meant to rise above challenges and reinvent oneself in the competitive world of entertainment. His early days as a boy band member to his transformation into a respected actor, Jun Ho's journey was nothing short of extraordinary. He embodied resilience, adaptability, and relentless passion. But what the world often forgets is that even idols are human. Beneath the accolades and adoration lies a son, a brother, and a man struggling with choices not entirely his own. The idea of early marriage is not foreign in the cultural landscape of Korea. For generations, family expectations and arranged unions have shaped the lives of countless individuals. But in the modern entertainment industry, stars are expected to embody freedom and individuality. The notion of being coerced into marriage seemed almost unthinkable. And yet, here was Jun Ho, standing at the crossroads of tradition and independence, caught in a web that seemed impossible to escape. Fans who once adored him for his strength now worried for his fragility. Media outlets scrambled for details. Tabloids exploded with speculation. And social networks turned into battlefields of opinion. Every fan post, every trending hashtag, had with it a mixture of shock, outrage, and sympathy. International audiences, familiar with the cultural nuances of family duty, struggled to comprehend how a man so powerful in fame could be powerless in his personal life. Why can't he just say no? Some asked. Why would a family force such a thing in this day and age? Others, however, understood the deeper cultural undertones. For them, this was not simply a matter of choice, it was a matter of honor, lineage, and unspoken obligations that transcend the individual. Yoona's role in this narrative could not have been more dramatic. Her bond with Jun Ho had always hovered between friendship and something more in the imagination of fans. Now, one emotional reaction. She had become a symbol of defiance and compassion. Her tears, her words, or even her silence, whatever it was she offered, became magnified across continents. Was it love? Was it friendship? Or was it simply the humane reaction of someone unwilling to see another soul crushed beneath the weight of tradition? Whatever the truth, her presence added fuel to a fire that was already raging out of control. The industry was quick to react. Management agencies tightened their grip, issuing vague statements that clarified nothing and only deepened the mystery. Journalists debated on television panels, drawing parallels to past scandals and predicting the potential fallout on careers, endorsements, and public trust. Cultural commentators dissected the clash between traditional family values and the evolving identity of Korean youth. The more they spoke, the more entangled the narrative became. Through it all, two figures remained at the heart of the storm: Jun Ho, silent but visibly burdened, and Yoona. Expected reaction had turned a private struggle into a global phenomenon. As the days turned into weeks, the sphere grew more suffocating. Paparazzi followed Jun Ho's every move, hungry for a glimpse of the man behind the mystery. Fans organized online campaigns demanding his freedom, calling for the right of their idol to live his own life. Hashtags like Free Jun Ho and Stand With Yoona trended worldwide, reflecting a growing movement that transcended entertainment and tapped into universal questions about autonomy, choice, and human dignity. What had started as whispers of a family-arranged marriage had evolved into a cultural flashpoint, a story that blurred the line between celebrity gossip and social commentary. And then came the breaking point. A press event, scheduled months in advance, suddenly became the stage for an emotional unraveling. Jun Ho, standing before the cameras, a smile that seemed heavier than ever. The questions flew fast and sharp. Was it true? Was he engaged? Was he being forced? He dodged, he deflected. But the weight of expectation was crushing. Then, in the crowd, someone noticed Yoona. Her presence alone was enough to send shockwaves through the audience. The cameras turned, the flashes intensified, and the atmosphere thickened with anticipation. I knew something was about to happen. When Yoona reacted, whether through her words, her tears, or her unwavering gaze, the world stopped. It was broadcast, replayed, analyzed frame by frame. Social media imploded with speculation. Fans wept, journalists scrambled, and cultural analysts paused to reconsider their theories. His reaction was not just a personal moment, it became a symbol of resistance, empathy, and the raw, filtered power of human connection. For Jun Ho, it was both a lifeline and a complication. For fans, it was the moment that defined the entire scandal. For the world, it was proof that even in an industry built on illusion, truth could still break through. The story of Jun Ho's forced early marriage was no longer confined to gossip magazines or entertainment blogs. It had become a global conversation, one that transcended borders and resonated with anyone who had ever struggled against expectations. And at the heart of it all was the undeniable, unforgettable reaction of Yoona, a reaction that continues to ripple across time, space, and culture. The full effect of Yoona's emotional reaction could not be contained within the boundaries of a press event. Within hours, the moment had gone viral, spreading across continents like wildfire. Screens lit up in Seoul, Tokyo, New York, Paris, and Sao Paulo, replaying her expression, her trembling voice, and the subtle but unmistakable power of her stance. Meant to be a fleeting reaction became a cultural earthquake, shaking the foundations of an entertainment industry that thrives on carefully curated images. For fans, it was no longer just about a forced marriage, it was about the courage to speak, to feel, and to defy the invisible walls that surround even the brightest stars. The global fan frenzy was immediate and overwhelming. Tags in multiple languages surged into the top trends: "Stand with Jun Ho," "Yoona speaks, let them choose." Fans expressed outrage, demanding that Jun Ho's family release him from their grip, while others rallied around Yoona, praising her bravery for stepping into a storm she had no obligation to face. International media outlets picked up the story, framing it not just as a scandal but as a cultural flashpoint. American talk shows debated the implications of arranged expectations in a modern world. European commentators compared it to generational clashes within their own societies. In Asia, particularly Korea and Japan, the debate took on a sharper edge, with cultural traditions and modern sensibilities colliding in real time. The more the story spread, the more it evolved. Fan-made videos set to emotional soundtracks captured Yoona's reaction in slow motion, turning it into a cinematic moment that seemed ripped from the climax of a romance drama. Editorials were published questioning the cost of fame, the balance between personal happiness and family honor, and the unspoken sacrifices demanded of celebrities. On university campuses, students held discussions about generational shifts in cultural values, citing Jun Ho and Yoona as the embodiment of a larger social struggle. What had begun as whispers in entertainment columns had now become the subject of academic debate, political commentary, international news coverage. For Jun Ho, the storm was suffocating. Every move he made was scrutinized, every silence interpreted. Support Yoona's defiance? Was he grateful, embarrassed, or conflicted? His public appearances grew more tense, his interviews more cautious. The once confident performer now carried the aura of a man fighting battles on multiple fronts: the battle against tradition, the battle against media intrusion, and perhaps most painfully, the battle within himself. Was he willing to sacrifice his personal happiness for duty? Or would he finally break free, risking the ties that bound him to his family? Yoona, meanwhile, found herself thrust into a role she had not asked for. Though admired for her sincerity, is now cast by the media as a heroine, a rebel, even a symbol of love and defiance of oppression. All fans adored her. The weight of this narrative bore heavily on her shoulders. Management companies grew nervous, the impact on brand endorsements and public image. And closed doors, her advisors debated whether she should retreat from spotlight or lean into her newfound role as the voice of defiance. But Yoona, true to her nature, remained poised. Neither denied her emotions nor exploited them. She let the world interpret her actions, understanding that sometimes silence speaks louder than any statement. The clash between tradition and modern love had never been so starkly illuminated. In Korea, the idea of filial piety and duty to family is deeply ingrained, shaping countless lives across generations. To resist such expectations is not simply a personal choice, it is seen as a rejection of heritage, a rebellion against centuries of culture. Yet, younger generations, inspired by global ideals of freedom, individuality, and self-determination, obligations feel like chains. Jun Ho's plight became the perfect canvas on which this generational conflict was painted. To older voices, his duty was clear. To younger voices, his sacrifice was unacceptable. Cultural commentators began drawing parallels to other moments in history where celebrities became unwilling symbols of social change. They compared Jun Ho's silence to the struggles of past idols who faced similar dilemmas, though none with stakes quite this high. They described Yoona's emotional display as a watershed moment, a crack in the polished veneer of the entertainment machine that revealed something raw and real beneath. The industry, which thrives on illusion, found itself exposed. For perhaps the first time in years, fans were not consuming a scripted performance, they were witnessing a genuine human crisis unfold before their eyes. As the weeks passed, the tension only grew. Rumors swirled about possible marriage announcements, private confrontations between Jun Ho and his family, secret meetings with Yoona. Every rumor was dissected, exaggerated, spread across tabloids. The lines between truth and speculation blurred, creating a narrative too powerful to ignore. Some reports suggested that Jun Ho had already been introduced to his intended partner, fueling outrage among fans who saw it as a betrayal of his freedom. Others claimed Yoona had privately urged him to resist, intensifying speculation about the true depth of their bond. The international reaction was particularly striking. United States, where celebrity independence is often celebrated, Jun Ho was portrayed as a tragic figure, a man imprisoned by cultural expectations. In Europe, media outlets framed the story as part of a global conversation about tradition and modernity, comparing it to arranged marriage debates in their own societies. In Asia, where cultural nuances carried heavier weight, reactions were deeply divided. Some defended Jun Ho's family, arguing that respect for elders and continuation of lineage must come first. Others sided passionately with Jun Ho and Yoona, insisting that love and personal choice should not be sacrificed on the altar of tradition. Through it all, Yoona's emotional reaction remained the defining symbol of the scandal. The image of her standing in that crowded room, emotions breaking through the spider-polished exterior, continued to haunt the public imagination. It was replayed, reinterpreted, and immortalized in countless fan creations. For many, it became the moment when the line between fiction and reality dissolved completely. Fans who had once shipped Jun Ho and Yoona as an on-screen pairing now clung to the possibility that their bond was real, forged not by scripts but by genuine emotion. Whether or not this was true mattered less than the hope it inspired. The climax of this saga arrived when Jun Ho was forced to make a public statement. The pressure had reached unbearable levels. Silence was no longer an option. The world watched as he stepped onto the stage once again, his face a mixture of exhaustion and determination. Cameras zoomed in. Fans held their breath. Journalists prepared their pens. In a voice steady but heavy with emotion, he acknowledged the rumors, the pressures, and the expectations. Not confirm nor deny every detail, but he admitted the truth that mattered most. He was caught between love and duty, between tradition and personal freedom. Words were vague enough to avoid direct confrontation with his family, but clear enough to signal his struggle. When asked about Yoona, he paused, his silence more eloquent than any answer. Erupted in murmurs. The cameras clicked relentlessly, and the narrative deepened further. Did his silence mean love, gratitude, or simply an inability to risk dragging her further into the storm? Whatever the answer, the public had already decided. To them, the bond between Jun Ho and Yoona was undeniable, and her emotional reaction had sealed it forever in their hearts. The aftermath of whose statement left the industry in turmoil. Endorsements were questioned, projects reconsidered, and management companies scrambled to contain the fallout. Yet, for all the chaos, something had shifted. The public no longer saw Jun Ho merely as an idol, they saw him as a man struggling against forces larger than himself. No longer saw Yoona merely as a star, they saw her as a symbol of compassion and courage. Together, that inadvertently sparked a conversation that would outlast the scandal itself. As the dust settled, one truth remained clear: the story of Lee Jun Ho's forced early marriage and Yoona's emotional reaction was not just about two celebrities. It was about the collision of worlds, the clash of generations, and the enduring power of genuine emotion in an industry built on illusion. Whether Jun Ho would ultimately follow his family's wishes or carve his own path remained uncertain. But one thing was undeniable: his life, Yoona's life, lives of countless fans had been forever changed by a moment of vulnerability that shook the world. And so the question lingers, going across headlines and fan discussions, across social media feeds and late-night conversations: will Lee Jun Ho break free from the chains of tradition? Or will duty bind him forever? As the world waits for the next chapter, one thing is certain: this is no longer just a celebrity scandal. It is a story of love, courage, unyielding human spirit, revealed on the red carpet of life itself. In the end, the saga of Lee Jun Ho's forced early marriage and Yoona's unforgettable reaction transcends the confines of celebrity gossip. It became a mirror reflecting the fragile balance between tradition and modernity, fame and humanity, silence and courage. What began as whispers of family duty turned into a global outcry for freedom of choice, fueled by one man's struggle and one woman's unguarded display of emotion. Together, they reminded the world that even behind flawless performances and perfectly staged images, stars are still human, vulnerable, conflicted, and capable of profound truth. Fans, this journey has been more than following a headline, it has been a lesson in empathy. It has shown how voices, united across languages and borders, can challenge expectations and demand authenticity. It's proven that compassion, whether expressed in a tear, a pause, or a single trembling sentence, can resonate louder than any carefully crafted narrative. As we close this story, do not offer answers but rather an invitation to reflect on the invisible pressures we all face, the choices we make under the weight of expectation, and the courage it takes to stand by what feels true in our hearts. Jun Ho's silence, Yoona's emotion, and the global chorus that rose around them will not fade quickly. Remain as reminders of the unshakable power of sincerity in a world built on illusion. To every reader who has walked with us through these pages, Carpet Revealed extends our deepest gratitude. Thank you for allowing us to bring you beyond the headlines and into the heart of a story that is, at its core, about what it means to be human. May their courage inspire yours. May their struggle deepen your empathy. And may their truth remind us all that behind every spotlight beats a heart yearning simply to be free.